Hi everyone, and welcome to this USN Travel Talk again. We're gonna do a bit of update because we see the world is opening up, and we're gonna see or do a little bit of an update on, I would say, probably the two most popular destinations out of Scandinavia, out of the Nordic market, which is Bali, of course, and Thailand. And we know for Thailand, of course, we got Daniel, who's at his little golf resort today. So he's a bit of traveling, and I got Andreas here from Bali. And I think we're just going to kind of dig into it straight away because we got 30 minutes and a little bit of update on how traveling is. We can just introduce, for those ones who's not been, I see there's a few new ones coming into the USN Travel Talk here. We do these talks on a regular basis, and especially now in Asia, because we see things are changing. Restrictions are changing, infections are going up and down, but we see a little bit more of an opening of, we being able to travel to Asia. I think the Scandinavians are eager to get flying and coming out and get out of their bubbles. I think they had enough of their bubbles at the moment. So I think we're going to just dig into Bali straight away, Andreas, and I'll have a little bit on, we talk to Danielle afterwards as well.
So we got very small now. Hello. Good afternoon from Bali. Good morning to you all in Denmark and Scandinavia. Very happy to have the chance to update you a little bit together with Daniel about the two destinations that Christine already clearly highlighted to be of interest, probably also in regards of press and media. So next slide. So a quick overview that Daniel will show you later as well. The current situation in Indonesia. We have coming up now, Ramadan started today, a travel ban in the domestic market, in the domestic travel over mid-May towards the Eid festival, because the government wants to restrict the further dispersion and the travel that normally happens by the millions in Indonesia in that period. You see a couple of numbers, confirmed cases, 1.5 million. We had 42 deaths. If I say that in relation to Bali, then we had a total of 42,055 cases so far and about 1,200 deaths. The COVID numbers in Bali are reducing currently. We have been sometimes with a daily rate of up to 300, 320, and we're currently more in the range of 170 to 160 new reported infections per day. What we're talking about is, and you might have heard, Bali is in the news, has been in the news last year already, but very massively beginning this year, and then particularly in the last months in March, to possibly open up. This is a timeline reopening up idea and plan. It is not fully confirmed, and it is constant progress, basically. But there is a target to move to possibly have people coming in already in July, December 2021 via green zones, as we call them here, in Ubud, Sanur, and Nusa Dua on Bali. And the green zones are to be open to countries containing the spread of COVID virus as well, have a high vaccination level, and offer also reciprocal benefits between the countries. So what
can I ask you, Andreas, I'm going to just interrupt you. So what can I ask you in terms of, have you heard what kind of countries that might be?
Well, the list changes on and off, but there's definitely China on. There is the US listed, South Korea, Japan, So it's definitely more a start on the Asian front, but then to be widened. In Europe, they had the Netherlands listed. That comes probably most likely out of the reciprocal benefits as well, because you all know the ties and the long-standing relationships between Holland and the Republic of Indonesia. But that was it so far. It was 6-7 countries mentioned, but we do understand that should be widened as soon as we see more development in each of these other countries as well, particularly and also in Scandinavia.
Yeah.
There are determinations to actually go down these roadmap, and that is definitely that the COVID numbers need to reduce. As I just said before already, this is happening, but 170 or 160 cases a day is still too high for government authorities to consider yet to open up. We also, even though Bali is holding that up very well with compliances and health protocols already last year in hotels, you might have received videos from them showing what is all in place and so on. But this also wants to be increased, and also for attractions. And there is a certification level here on the Indonesian side, CHSE. And hotels and attractions need to be certified, and the aim is to have minimum 80% of these hotels and attractions in that 3 areas above certified.
Yeah, exactly. So how are they doing now at the moment with the certification and in those 3 areas?
I think we are close to about 40%.
Okay, so you're kind of halfway.
Yeah, the majority from them have been probably achieved that already in 2020 in their efforts to just be ready. And the other ones now, with the target to a possible opening up, I think they will follow very quickly with things. And there is also much more experience now in these hotels due to the fact that we had domestic tourism working and traveling in Indonesia since July last year.
Can I ask you another thing on the green zones you're looking at, which is Ubud, Sanur, and Nusa Dua? That is the 3 areas who will be open for tourists, basically. How will they be able to control it? I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. I have visited the areas, and of course there is slightly, it's not really borders in terms of that. So how will you do
correct. I mean, the ITDC down in Nusa Dua is easy to control and things, but Sanur and Ubud is a different story. But while we're talking about green zones, this is basically the areas that they are having a lot of focus on right now. But of course, the aim is to get the whole island ready, and then by that as well, step by step, opening the rest of the country, right? So while we're talking now about Bali, I have conversations with GMs and people in Java. There are similar drives also to the summer already. And we have to be honest, we need these destinations as well. Even so Bali is very interesting and has a lot to offer. We do still have a lot of customers who want to see more of just one island, right? But to ensure that's the next point quickly listed with the testing, tracing, and treatment. They're working basically on setting up facilities better, be able to increase the testing, and then of course also have the tracking online tools and websites ready and available. With us ground operators in the hotels as well as with the customers, but also the hospitals and the treatment facilities that might be needed. So the aim is first now to vaccinate at least 2 million people in Bali until hopefully end of June, July. This process, as I said before, it's fluent. It will be evaluated every 2 weeks by authorities. And the trial runs, firstly, probably with some domestic customers in designated green zones. They will probably start soon, hopefully in May already, and then slowly move over and have then the few first countries to be able to send tourists. And that's the other question, right? We need to have the other country also allowing their customers to come in. I guess the US is at the moment allowing everybody to travel everywhere. But yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you something else on that? Because that refers to, of course, travel agents who's now listening in, or booking agents, or, even there's a lot of individual travel agents at the moment as well in Scandinavia. So when they have guests coming in or, asking for Bali, would it be the most safe areas to maybe then book hotels either in Ubud, Sanur, and Nusa Dua? Because I was just thinking, like, booking wise, you have people asking for Bali, and would that be a safe kind of situation, you think, for them to, look for those areas, since that will be the first green zones open?
Well, I guess Ubud is always on the list for most customers traveling to Bali, and in particular from the European side, also Nusa Dua and Sanur. Scandinavia also knows Sanur quite well as a beach place. And I don't want to restrict the other areas because they will have to follow. It's just, I think that these are areas who have been holding up protocols a little bit better and are a little bit easier to control, to look at in regards to entry and exit points. And to come to my last point, there are preparations now to get quarantine hotels ready and prepared, and these are also in these three areas, because foreign arrivals will need to quarantine, as it looks like at the moment, and waiting for PCR test results to be negative. If they're negative, then the customer can travel on to their choice of accommodation place and location in these zones at the beginning, but I'm 100% sure that this will soon widen. And basically, maybe I can come step forward to the next slide, which I want to highlight a little bit, the vaccination process, because that's, of course, where the government builds a lot on, and where we are probably quite a bit leading in the area down here in Southeast Asia. The vaccination program was basically rolled out already in January. The government secured a huge amount of Chinese Sinovac vaccination, but also, I think, about the beginning 4.8 million AstraZeneca doses, and that was further stopped up. So the vaccination happens in 4 stages. What happened in January up to mid-February was basically that 1.5 million health workers were vaccinated with their first jab. They got by now all already their second dose. So they are kind of fully vaccinated. The public service workers were following after that. And then now we are getting into April, May. That's now where the stage from the planning goes towards vulnerable citizens. We're talking here about elderly people and other ones that are more able to register. In a total, from the, I think it's a number of about 40 million that are planned under these first vaccination program. 24%, as you can see in that graph, have received 1 dose, and already 15, I think it's 15%, they have received 2 doses.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's of the whole of Indonesia?
That's of the whole of Indonesia, right? And in Bali, we have actually had a very massive vaccination effort over the last 3-4 weeks. And that has led to the result that the population in the green zones that I said before, Ubud, Sanur, and Nusa Dua, they're actually 90+% of the population is vaccinated. And outside of that population, there has been also a huge amount of vaccinations given to hospitality workers who may not live in that zones, but generally are employed by companies in these zones.
Okay.
So for us, being situated in Sanur, as most DMCs, we have been able to have 90% of our staff, they received the first dose of vaccination. And we had 80% of our guides coming to the vaccination efforts, and about 55% of drivers that regularly work with us have been vaccinated.
Okay.
So
that's some good stuff over turnover
and
in
you see a little
vaccination.
picture here of two colleagues of us. We all get certification of what we've been vaccinated when, online with a QR code as well as a printout. And we all have already a date for the second vaccination, which will be happening in May.
Okay. So basically, if this one continues to be as good as you are, there's more likely that to see that Bali is opening up on that time frame, which was you showed us earlier.
Yes, because we are basically hoping, and that's the aim of the government and authorities, to reach here very soon that kind of herd immunity and a vaccination level among the adults that basically helps to reduce the cases fast, as well as takes pressure from the health system and so on, because as you know, you're not necessarily 100% secured against the virus to attack you, but the vaccinations are definitely helping to reduce the severe cases,
Exactly.
the severity of the whole thing. So, and there's always, as you said before, there's always two ways that we need to think of, right? The government wants to open up to bring business in, but the government also has to keep in mind to protect the population and citizens. And I think that's another aim, to say we've been all vaccinated, the citizens here are vaccinated, so we can welcome the foreigners under the certain regulations and protocols.
Good.
Yeah. So basically, and within Destination Asia, we've been working since March, April last year already on ensuring that our services are, how we called it to some extent, sanitized travel provision, or the certain protocols are in place. So we got these updates and these post-COVID PDF presentations, as you see here quickly, where we have looked into the activities, into transport, into how our guides have to handle things. We have central new SOPs developed for COVID enhancement. We have here in Indonesia we're working with a cooperation of 4 DMCs on sustainability generally towards suppliers. We have shifted that last year, and we're just focusing on educating our local suppliers in the various fields, the ones where we run our special experiences with up in the village and so on what protocols they need to put into place that we are safely able to bring our customers to these sites and places. And our product team has, in this regards, also worked long on going through our whole product field and identify products that we, for the temporary moment, are suspending because they have elements where we feel that they are not appropriate to be included under the current COVID situation.
So the last question for bring Daniel on to as well, so we keep it within the time frame. Correct. I just am thinking, because like I said, we have a lot of travel agents and tour operators on. What would your advice be for forward bookings? We know I can't say, of course, with Destination Asia, we have to remember that we have flexible to ensure that we have flexible, of course, cancellation policy. So if you book, you don't need to pay your deposit in terms of so you don't need to spend all your money in terms of, I'm thinking, okay, it will be cancellations basically. But what would your